Good morning, Papa Pepper back here once again for the Abundant Harvest Homestead. I am not at the Abundant Harvest Homestead because I have been home a lot less lately and I'm getting tired of it. So in this video I'm going to cover three things. Number one, I just turned 40. Number two, I'm going to talk about being home a lot less than I would prefer. And number three, I'm going to talk about short-term sacrifices for long-term goals. And hopefully you guys can benefit from hearing some of this. So the first thing is that on December 8th, I turned 40 years old. Interesting thing about my birthday is I was born the day that John Lennon from the Beatles formerly was shot. So if anyone remembers that, that was when I was born, that day. Hard to think that it's been 40 years already. And I did waste about a decade of my life before I really got kind of back on track and actually on God's track, and then moving forward with intention and purpose and a real reason to live and things like that. So it's been a blessing since then. And the cool thing too is, even though I spent a long time as a drunkard, even though I spent a long time kind of wrecking my body with a lot of drugs, smoking a lot of cigarettes, my lungs still are not, where they were. If you don't smoke, don't start, because it's bad. It's not going to help you in the long term at all. When I met Mama Pepper and realized she wanted to give me some time, I said, you know what, I'm going to quit smoking, because if this woman wants to give me some time, I want to make sure I have some time to give back. I want to be there for that. So that was the motivation for me to quit smoking, but it took an act of God to take drugs and alcohol away from me, and I had to let him act. I had to let him act. He wanted to clean me up, but I had to ask him to and allow him to, and praise God that he did. So the cool thing too is that I'm pretty much almost in the best physical shape of my life as far as capability and other stuff. I could probably be a little bit fitter, a little bit stronger, maybe some other things, but switching from sitting on a forklift or sitting in a desk in front of a computer, those are some of the jobs I had before, to now I'm a traveling handyman when I do work, but also on the homestead, it is a lot more work than working. Number one, at the moment, by the time you see this, I could be back home already, but at the moment I'm about 9 hours away from home, down near Lake Charles, Louisiana, rebuilding a bunch of stuff from the couple of hurricanes that came through here. So cleaning up some of the messes and then rebuilding some stuff, but there's a lot of physical labor. I really push myself a lot, and at the end of the day, I'm pretty tired. But I'm 9 hours away from home, so you got that travel time in there. At home, on the homestead, when I wake up, it's go time. It never stops. So you kind of wake up at the job site when you're at home, and that changes things, and that makes it a lot more work to be home. But doing all that physical labor has really probably the strongest I've ever been, some other things. So it's nice to be, I guess I'm heading over a hill according to some people, but I could still be on an upward climb. We'll see. That's about it for being 40. Really cool. 13 years of marriage to Mama Pepper. Our oldest daughter's 10. We've got number 7 on the way. Life is a very interesting place. Definitely enjoy it, and happy birthday to me. So, tired of being homeless. Not homeless, but homeless. Yes, I can make some decent money when I do what I do, and that's one of the reasons that I do what I do, and for a smaller investment of time than if I had an hourly wage, doing something where it demanded me to be there 5 or 6 days a week, 8 hours to 10 hours a day, for many years, kind of a standard job, I wouldn't be able to really have the freedom I do, or earn the type of money I do, per se. I could get I've had some pretty good paying jobs before, but what it allows me to do is kind of fix my schedule around our goals and our needs. So if we don't have a lot of expenses, which, we own our land, we own our mobile home, there's no rent, there's no mortgage, stuff like that, that's just crossed off the list. We own our car, there's no car payment, things like that. So if I don't need a lot of money, then I don't need to really head out working as much. At the moment, there's a couple of things I want to take care of financially. There's a couple of projects that are in the works. There's the birth of another baby coming up and other things. So I want to be able to take care of some stuff. So what I've done is I chose to hit it hard for a while now. And, often take off on Sunday or Monday, sometimes at 2 or 3 in the morning, and don't show up till, Friday night back at home. Gone all week. It's not ideal. but it allows me to invest a couple of good hard weeks and then take some time off is the goal. The goal is to be home ahead of time before we have our next child, to be there for the birth and to be there for that transitional period afterwards. And then maybe take, more sporadic work in between, rather than a big long stretch that takes me away the whole time, hit a couple in between. And I can do that too. We adjust based on what our needs are. And a lot of the local stuff I do, or the closer stuff where I can wake up at home, leave for the day, and come back to home, I can make decent money at too. It's just I can make more doing this. So I chose to invest those couple weeks, more than that probably, to earn a little bit more, to have a little bit of a pile to coast us through that transitional period before we really get to the point that I need to invest in this type of work as I am right now. But the cool thing is, stuff like our YouTube videos here, stuff like blogging online on Hive and Steemit and stuff, and then the books that we wrote and are selling, and the Etsy shop where we're selling seeds and other things from our garden and some of our favorite plants that then we generate more than we need of the seeds for next year and are able to allow others the chance to purchase some. All those things add up too, and that buys me a lot more freedom than I would have otherwise. And I want to get to the point where I find different home-based incomes to be generating hopefully enough to sustain us, that then I can live my life at home with my wife and children, helping to just in the daily task of life, helping with the home education, helping with running the homestead, and moving forward from there. That's the goal. We're progressing towards that goal, and a lot of you guys even watching this video definitely helps out. And to wrap up this section about how being home less is difficult for me, my heart is at home. It is. It's with my wife. It's with my children. That's my desire. So while I'm willing to make these short-term sacrifices towards a long-term goal, it does hurt. It does become difficult, and it's hard. I want to wake up with a little bugger there, with a little bell pepper with my children. I want to wake up and be able to be there in person, reading to them out of scripture every morning, every night. That's how we live our life. And I'm not there right now, so it's difficult. But just like many people I know, we too are willing to make that short-term sacrifice towards that long-term goal. That's what we're up to. In my work right now and a lot of things we did, we've lived in some smaller cramped quarters before. We left all that we ever know. I quit the longest running job I ever had. We sold our forever house, towards having a vision, having a goal, towards having a level of self-sufficiency that we couldn't obtain in that context. And right now I see a lot of people doing that. They're making these short-term sacrifices. I know people living in campers. I know people staying on other people's properties while they try to get set up. I know people kind of leaving all they ever knew to go buy some raw land and develop it. If you don't think busting your butt in just raw earth and trying to develop that into a homestead is a short-term sacrifice, and it could be a long-term sacrifice. There's a lot of your life that you're going to have to give up investing in that property to turn it into what you want to. But it inspires me when I see other people doing that, and I definitely do see other people doing that. I see a lot of people out there willing to, and I also see people who just really don't have a clue. You ask them what their goal is in life, and they're like, oh, I don't know. You watch them on their phone. Sometimes I use this for work, different things I'm up to. Sometimes I use this for research, but there's some people who just stare at it and giggle all day. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. That's all they do. And they live for pleasure. And their life's going to pass them by in a long series of giggles. We should, since we only have one chance down here, and my heart is set on eternity too, I don't plan on making it out of here alive. So I invest in the eternal and the hereafter, because life is temporary no matter what. But while we are here, we should have an overall umbrella under which we live our life. What is our purpose? What is our goal? What do we want to see develop and be created in our life? And what are some stepping stones to get us to that goal? That's where we're at. I have goals like raising more of our own food, like becoming kind of a master of my domain. I want to be really in tune with the lake, so that way when the carp are spawning, or the certain fish are readily available, that I can not only take advantage of that situation, but I can call up some people I know and say, hey, this is happening right now. If you want in, there's no time like the present. Last year we were catching some giant sunfish like I never caught. I said, kids, I didn't grow up catching sunfish like this. I'm like, you guys are doing amazing. And then we have a good food source. You know, it's fun activities that generate food, but if I'm in tune with the lake, I can really master it. Otherwise, I'm going to spend a lot of time with my line in the water that's not generating anything. It's not fun. You just sit there for a long time, and it's not generating food if you're not catching anything. So I want to just kind of learn all these different things, but I have to be able to, you know, observe things down at the lake to do that. I have to be able to have time in my garden to generate more of our own food. I have to be able to learn a lot about animal husbandry to do a better job with, like, our sheep, for instance. Every year we've had sheep, we've lost some, except for this year. The only ones we lost were the 4 we ate, so we chose to eat them. So we're getting better at these things. We want to learn. We want to kind of master the things in which we are involved in, or at least be constantly learning and progressing. You know, and I want to, as I said, you know, be home with my wife and children. If I cut the costs enough, then there's going to be ways, I believe, that whatever income we still need, I can find things from home to do without having to, you know, work a 9 to 5. So guys, hopefully that blessed you. Hopefully that was some good stuff to think about. I will see you next time. I'm going to work on wrapping this up and getting home. Papa out.